So I don't think it's any secret on this channel that Raven's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Mhm.
I don't really have much of a reason as to why for that. I've always found myself very appealed to Raven back in his ECW days and his WCW days. It was maybe the fact that he dressed like me and he wore t-shirts of bands that I liked. But we had like a question recently in one of our sort of mailbag sections about, do you have any wrestling memorabilia? And I was like, I sort of looked around my office. I said, no, the only piece of wrestling memorabilia I've got is this Raven action figure. This is
Ah.
the it's the only piece of wrestling memorabilia I have in my office. And so Raven's had a really interesting career. Like, he had a great run in ECW as a champion there. He was a champion in WCW, had a really, really good run in there in the flock. You jump forward to his time in TNA, he was an NWA World Champion there. Run wasn't particularly as hot as it should have been because Jeff just won the belt back. And yeah, he's always just been like a featured part, even when he was in Ring of Honor in his feud with Punk. But the one place he never really worked was his run in WWF when he went across in 2000, was there for the invasion, was there shortly into 2002, and then left. And really, when you look at it, you can say that he won the hardcore title 20, however many times, 27, 28 times, whatever it was.
27 times, the most of anyone. Yeah.
But what does that really mean? Like it didn't really, it was just, a title that he won a bunch. So why didn't Raven work in WWF?
I think it's actually pretty well exemplified by the hardcore title, because the hardcore title, like sort of the 24/7 title now, it has a tendency as a belt to be used kind of like for quick, short-term booking. Like a thing happens, and then another thing happens, and these things don't necessarily connect to each other. So Raven, yeah, got a lot of title wins, but he never really had like a long ongoing storyline. I think one of the reasons why he always connected with people where he worked elsewhere was because he was always a wrestler with a plan. Like he always had a goal. I think that's why people were so drawn to Bray Wyatt when he first started. I don't just mean like the cult similarities. It's just that like someone's always more compelling if they have something that they're aiming towards and putting action into place in order to achieve that thing. And Raven, like whether it was with the Flock or Raven's Nest or even with Serotonin, like he always had he had a plan. Like he wanted to recruit people for his goal, for his ethos. He always had ideals and principles, even though they were kind of warped. So that always made it kind of like, oh, I want to see what Raven is doing this week, rather than just good wrestler who turns up, puts on a good match, but otherwise there's no kind of like narrative connective tissue to kind of keep you coming back. And he never really had that in WWE.
Yeah.
He was going to because we were going to record this and I couldn't remember all that much about Raven, which is telling right there. The one memory that everyone has of Raven in WWE is the amazing triple threat hardcore match at WrestleMania X7, where he spends most of the time being battered or between Big Show and Kane, and almost killing the entire feed by driving a golf cart into the power cable. But I was reading up, apparently it's so like Sunday Night Heat was going to be like his thing. So he obviously was on commentary there for a while. Then he was banished there by losing to Tommy Dreamer. But apparently he was going to do a long running Seven Deadly Sins style angle, like the movie Seven, obviously. He was going to do something like a big puppet master long form story on Heat, and kind of like, because Heat was obviously didn't have the viewership as much, they were going to give him more creative control. But unfortunately they canned it because apparently it wasn't over enough, like shortly into its run. And like that is like, oh, what Raven could have made, because he's always been, he's been a guy with a plan. And like Bray Wyatt, he's clearly got a love of storytelling and he knows all of these tropes. It's just, he was never kind of given that free reign in WWF.
Yeah, particularly when they brought him in and they slotted him into a role very early on, which is like, oh, okay, so Taz was in ECW, you were in ECW, so clearly you're mates, and you're now a tag team. You're going to help Taz in his feud with Jerry Lawler, which really did feel like Taz was like, because Taz came in, beat Kurt Angle, in his debut match, and was then feuding with the Big Boss Man. And then, just a few months later, it felt like, okay, we need to put the training wheels back on you. Here's a feud with Jerry Lawler. And I think sort of Raven then being involved with that really slotted him in at a certain level. And I always remember there's a pay-per-view. I can't remember which pay-per-view it was, but it was where Raven was going to face Matt Hardy for the European Championship, which
Mm.
as a fan made me think like, oh, okay, this is almost like this is a level up. This is a level out of the hardcore title into the European title for whatever that was worth. Maybe that could be the next place up for him. And then he's taken out of that match and he's put into a hardcore match with Rhino instead over the hardcore title. I'm like, oh, okay, so we're just back to square one again.
Mm.
And I've always thought Raven could have had a place in WWF in that period of time in that intercontinental title scene. Probably not world title scene, absolutely not, but certainly in the IC picture with the likes of Eddie and Jericho and Benoit and feuding over that belt. But as you said, like he was never given a storyline. He was mates with Taz, then he was given Terry as a manager for whatever reason, then it was feuding with Perry Saturn over Moppy,
He had
and then
a ninja. Don't forget his
yeah,
ninja.
yeah, which it was Terry, wasn't it? I think Terry was
It
revealed
was
to be
Tori.
Tori was the sexy ninja. There we go. And yeah, and that's it. Like, there's no meat into any of those stories.
Mm.
There's no Sean Stasiak in any of those stories to really sink your teeth into. And then that's it.
Well, that's like, yeah, I think you kind of put the nail on the head, which is like you have a certain reputation from an outside promotion. Like it's very clear that obviously they didn't really look into what, oh, you're from ECW. What did you do in ECW? Oh, you're a cult leader. Okay, you stole someone's son and brainwashed him. They kind of didn't know that. It's just like, oh, you're from ECW, so you like hitting people with stop signs and trash can lids. So yeah, that's what you're going to do. It's a real flattening out of someone's character. I mean, I did love that match with Rhino, especially for the spot where Rhino spears himself into a shopping cart, which is it's amazing. Like he has some, he definitely crafted some memories. But yeah, he never got that chance to really express himself. Got a baller theme though. That theme song's great.
Great song. I mean, really, that should have put him into that upper mid card slot for the theme tune alone. That was well worth buying WWF The Music Volume 3, I believe it was.
Wow.
I might be wrong on that one. So yeah, no, I just think that he was never really given a fair shake in the company. And I always remember there was a shoot interview he did with the Honky Tonk Man. It was like Raven and the Honky Tonk Man just chatting the breeze. And he always said, like, talking about ECW, that everyone went out there and were doing 25 chair shots. And he was like, well, no, my match, I'm just going to do one because I want that one chair shot to mean something. And yeah, WWF just didn't see that side. They just saw it was like, oh yeah, like as you say, you're ECW, you do the chair shot stuff. Now hit him with a stop sign, bring out a shopping cart. You're a homeless man. Look at the way you dress. Come out here and beg about, talk about being homeless. What about me? And that's your gimmick now.
Not entirely sure Vince McMahon understood grunge. Not entirely sure.